or the things, the matters that led to the postponement of tomorrow's election even goes to underline the lack of trust that has developed as a result of the poor performance of INEC in last election. It's not surprising to anybody that people have mixed reaction. People are relieved in a way in that all the tensions that have been generated might have been averted, and maybe we can regroup and then do it better if we have another 1 week. But the underlying concern of people is that, can INET get it really right? The reconfiguration of beavers was never considered. Was it not foreseen? Was it not part of the plan? So these things create questions, and these questions are not being answered frankly and honestly, and it's a really serious concern to even the international community that are watching what's going on. There is trust deficit in the Nigerian electoral body right now.
But they say, like, they would argue that that's the commission. The mandate that Nigeria placed on them or gave to them is that they should conduct the election. And if the presidential election was below par from the hue and cry and also from across the country, from observers, it would mean that, well, they say you don't get a second chance to create a first impression. But it seems INEC with this postponement is seeking to get the first impression right with this second attempt to, get it right.
Yeah, on the surface of it, that's what it's supposed to achieve, right? But the question is, you were planning this whole thing for about 4 years, let's say. For 4 years, we are planning this.
Yes.
And then you came up with the idea of this technology, and you assured the nation that you understood all it takes to be able to deploy the technology. The critical question is, what did you not foresee? Why is this like a sudden realization? If reconfiguration of beavers is part of the original plan, the scenario planning and all that went on, it could have been foreseen and been calculated into the projection of the timing.
Joseph, but litigations came in, and while cases were in court, they would need the court to give them approval to go ahead to do the reconfiguration. So yes, and when they got the court approval on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday wouldn't have been enough to configure all of those 176,000 beavers.
I guess you don't get what I'm saying.
All right.
If reconfiguration of beavers is important to conduct of the next election after the presidential one, was it not foreseen ahead of time such that the planning of the election timetable would have taken into consideration all of this? So you don't set a date and then you change it because you needed to do something. If it is going to involve litigation, going to court to seek approval and all that, you could have foreseen it.
Okay.
That's the point we're making. And that's why people are anxious.
Oh, now we're on the same page, because I also wanted to get that in there so it doesn't look like
it is very important.
Why they were waiting.
Why should you not foresee it? When you're doing planning of this time, you ask yourself, what can possibly go wrong? So did INET not ask these questions? That's the problem.
Well, still connected, our next story, we've got this one also from the Nation newspaper. INEC rejects ruling on temporary voter cards use. That's according to a court ruling. And it says a declaration is made by the court that the commission should go ahead and accept some parties who don't have the permanent voter card should be allowed to go ahead and vote. And INEC is saying, no, this is not part of the Electoral Act and guidelines.
Yeah, they're on point because the Electoral Act specifically especially asks that every voter should possess the permanent card. But the point when people went to court, they've anticipated the challenges people have gotten in trying to get cards. I didn't vote because I couldn't get my card.
Yes.
I was told all the time that it was not available, it cannot be sent. So why shouldn't I, if I have the temporary voters card, be allowed to vote? So there's a whole lot of issue about the logistics planning of INEC in terms of even distribution of cards.
Yes.
In other parts of the world, you can actually get your card delivered to you by post.
Okay.
And INEC actually has that provision, whether you want, they should have in that provision, I mean, for NIMSI, for example, they ask you if you want them to courier your card to you. So is it so much of the planning that we can't get all these things right? So many people were disenfranchised just because their card, the logistics of collecting the card was just made cumbersome and difficult.
Joseph, I have to pause you here. We need to go on a break. It is still freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1. When we come back, you will be able to get your responses into some of the headlines we've taken so far. Just stay with us. Okay. So we're going to the third story now. So when we come, I'll take some messages.
To register as a first money agent, visit the first bank branch closest to you.
My name is Jessica Bongos. This is Smooth 98.1.
It is still freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1. You're welcome back. And Joseph Obari is still with us, our guest analyst all the way from Abuja. Thank you for staying with us. So let's quickly get into some of the messages we've gotten so far. Then I'll get back to our third story. Okay, I've got this one in here from, who's that? Okay, it says Mahmoud Yakubu not transmitting electronically as caused election results wahala. Naira wahala caused by the CBN governor and President Buhari's disobedience of Supreme Court's judgment. It just goes on, wahala, wahala, wahala. That's Idima Puza from Surulere, leaving that for us this morning. Dami from Anthony says, all presidential elections have been litigated in the courts since 1999. 7 elections, it goes on to say. Why didn't INEC factor potential legal challenges into consideration when planning for the elections? Just also buttressing what you said earlier on, exactly. Planning, that's not an excuse.
Yeah.
And next I've got Franco, who says, good morning, my take on cash flow. This is for this time. I doubt it for now. When we get there, we'll come back to that message, Franco. What else? Let's see. Beaver's technology worked. Vast majority of observers agreed. It's the litigation that delayed their reconfiguration for the gubernatorial elections. And why should they, or how can they foresee all the externalities? Then be God. Tunde from Oregon. That's why I was asking, so we can be on the same page. And look, it was litigation that brought us this far. But you remain, we should have played Nostradamus to say, okay, what if it will come? Can't we give 1 month interval?
Yeah.
So one more before we get back to the headlines again. Let's see this one from Cruz. Okay, Cruz, we appreciate you. We thank you for that. Let's see. This one says, hello, I don't get INEC reason. Joseph is right. Did INEC not know that there will be litigations after elections? What were their plans? And how INEC can refuse to obey a court ruling, but CBN must obey? Nigerians are not ready for true democracy. anyhowness, his words, not mine now, anyhowness is becoming biblical. That's Daniel from Festac. Now, let's get back to the conversation now. A third paper waiting for us from this one. It's the Punch newspaper. And this brings us home to Lagos. It was a tragic one for us out here in Lagos on Thursday.
Yes,
like a Black Thursday.
My heart goes to everybody that was involved in that.
So the Punch newspaper here captures it saying, Lagos train bus crash. NRC, that's the Nigerian Railway Corporation, LASEMA, that's Lagos State Emergency Management Agency here, blame driver as federal government orders immediate probe. So a bit of the story here to guide us through the discussion says, Lagos State Emergency Management Agency and the Nigerian Railway Corporation have blamed the driver of Lagos State government staff bus for fatal train accident, which killed 6 people. The last time I checked before coming on it was 6 now, rising from 3 to 6, and injured 96 in the PW area of the state on Thursday. Joseph, what say you?
Yeah, my heart bleeds that this country continues to lose lives unnecessarily. This is not the only part of the world where you have train crossing the road. But what's happened is that, you know, trains weren't running in this country for quite a long time, for decades. So I think the safety that should, awareness that should surround the operation of the train and the tracks is reduced. Otherwise, when we were younger and trains were running in this country, at every such barrier, at every such crossing, there were barriers, physical barriers that were placed. When the train is passing, they actually put them there on the road, and it blocks the road. Now, it's obvious that this driver, as it's a penchant of most government drivers, they believe that they are reckless, they can do anything and get away, they have impunity. Even in Abuja here, the fear of a coastal bus, the government coastal bus driver, is the beginning of wisdom for any motorist. They feel they shouldn't obey the law, they don't feel that they are more in a hurry, and so on. And this is a very avoidable tragedy.
Now, Joseph, if I may come in here, so it doesn't look like, and this is not justifying what happened yesterday in Lagos, but I also want to bring it to your mind that this is just coming months behind after what we had it also happened in Abuja at an intersection where a woman was crushed.
Yes.
And also taking it further, in Greece, we had an incident where a train also derailed.
Yeah.
So this, it's not like it happens, but it's the question of officials being there to man it at some point in time. But again, isn't this sad, because it is the question of driver, driving a government bus that should be, top of his game.
Yeah.
Enforcement, laws, and training.
Yeah. So I suspect that government isn't training their drivers very well. The government across the country, states and federal government, need to invest in safety training for government drivers, because they are often very reckless. They don't obey traffic rules. They believe that because they are driving government vehicles, they have some kind of impunity or immunity from accidents. I don't understand. On the streets of Abuja, they can bash your car if you try to assert your rights and so on. So this is what it's avoidable, completely, totally avoidable loss of lives.
Okay, something quite different from what we see in other cases, in spite of the fact that they've ordered an investigation. This is what they are saying now. Before investigation, they are now saying the fault is all at the door or the table of the driver, because there was somebody there who was going to
stopping him,
stopping him, giving him a yellow. So the train has been given the go-ahead to come, while red has been shown to everybody to wait. So it wasn't going to wait.
Yeah. So that's the point. That's the recklessness we're talking about, and it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
Okay, Joseph. Let's leave it there, and the conversation will continue on our WhatsApp messages as we get the messages coming in. We'll get to take them on 0809-444-0981. But while we wait for that, let's get into money matters now. I don't know how much you've got in that blazer of yours right now on your wallet, but if you try me, I definitely know that there isn't much to go inside of me right now. But The headline from the Guardian newspaper says, Akeredolu, that's the governor of Ondo State,
Yeah.
Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, has decried continued rejection of the old Naira notes by traders and business owners in various parts of the state. This is his warning now. He said the rejection of the old 1,000 Naira, 500 and 200 Naira notes was a flagrant disobedience of the law, particularly since the Apex Court has given a ruling. So, even who's talking about ruling here when even the CBN is yet to make a pronouncement?
Yeah, that's the point. It's a mute case of what's going to happen, because they are playing like it's some kind of Russian roulette. I don't understand. At the end of the day, it's the people that lose. The central bank has not come out to really say, okay, we are going to obey. I've read reports that say they will obey the rule, but maybe that's just perfunctory, just to suit fairness, or if they are not going to obey. So because that is contempt of court directly if they say they are not going to obey. But in actual implementation, what's going to happen? Yeah, so we don't know what the process is being. Is it possible that I don't know what's going on, what goes on in the central bank when they collect notes like this? Is it possible they actually destroy the old notes, so they now have a shortage to put back into the system, or they have them on?
Joseph, before you go further, because you mentioned the old notes now, reports on the streets now, even when the banks issue notes now, even from their ATMs, they issue the old notes, but they would not take it from you. That is what is happening on the streets now. Who would protect Nigerians now from this? Who would bear the burden of this loss?
It's terrible. It's just a dilemma, because you see, initially, this is the way our people are, our nature. That's our nature. When the new notes were first introduced, people were reluctant to accept it. People rejected it, and so on. So you see a situation where people don't really get to follow developments. The messaging is being confused. We scrambled the messaging to the public. So it took time for people to know that there was even new notes, whether it's acceptable, whether it's a legal tender. It took a long time.
Yes.
It was only when the use of the old note was complete, we got to the deadline, that people now start accepting the new notes. Now they are used to the new note, they've gotten used to new notes, and they feel that is what is current. That's the currency of use. And then all of a sudden you're reversing. And to most people on the street, it's just a rumor. They don't believe it. They don't think it's real. So particularly for market women, they don't want to go into that stress of, I collect this old note now, I have to return it back to the bank to go and get new one later. So the point is that, why is the central bank not putting back into the economy the new notes as they promised?
Well, just to take it from you there, when these notes were introduced earlier on, it was subject to a lot of ridicule, it was fading, and that takes you now to what we are facing. Now, the notes we criticize so much, we can't even see it any longer. The case of the rejected stone now is becoming the head of the Naira stone.
Yeah.
So maybe it will take another presidential broadcast at 7 a.m. now to get the CBN to wake up from the slumber and silence, right?
Well, hopefully, because we are all in a very tight corner right now. I've not used any notes for nearly 3 weeks now.
So can we just do this one in 1 minute and then we'll go for a break? This one is the Nation newspaper. The army recovers 1,000 PVCs, ballot papers in Lagos apartment. That's according to the Nation, not my words. Yeah. And just a tip of the story here says, operatives of the Nigerian army have recovered a total of 1,671 permanent voter cards, PVCs, and ballot papers from an apartment somewhere in Lagos. And the operatives are attached to the 9th Brigade Ikeja. So take it away. Ballot paper flying everywhere.
Yeah, that's the point. We are coming out from what happened in the presidential election, and National Assembly elections, and the humongous rigging into pictures and videos of the evidence of rigging that went on, mutilation of ballot papers and result sheets and so on. This just goes to confirm that some kind of sinister thing is happening in the system, in INEX system. Some people, it's confirmation that INEX process has been hijacked, because how did people lay access to 1,671 permanent voters card? And there are people who are complaining they don't have cards. How did that happen? Yeah, so, and this is not the first time voters cards have been found in dustbins, in refuge, in the gutters and so on. So some people have hijacked INEX process, and INEX need to pay attention to this and launch an investigation. The report did not say whether INEC hasn't reacted to this, but INEC should be able to investigate each one of these breaches and try to understand why it happens, how it happens, and those responsible. We've never heard that INEC penalized any official because its process has been compromised by
Joe, we are due for a break. We'll be right back after this timeout. It's still freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1.
Okay.
Manager, make you come pay us our money now, because no pay. Excuse me. Mr. Adams, why you dey hide now? Where do you put your money?
We might just take one more story. I will go to the oil story. Yes, I will. When we come now, I take the messages, but I will go to oil. That's how we'll close up. Thanks. Are we good?
Enjoy unlimited bulk enrollment and bulk disbursement with First Money Wallet. Download the First Money Wallet app or dial *894*1#.
Open my messages down from you. So I start from here and go up. Where's Jane?
You first. First Bank. The Smooth Breakfast Show.
Thank you.
Freshly pressed. Great fun. The Locker Room and more.
And so Lagos, we didn't go for too long, and we're back here still freshly pressed. I still got Joseph Obari all the way in Abuja joining us this morning. We say thank you so much. But Joe, before we go further into our last headline, let's quickly go to see what listeners have been saying on our WhatsApp platform. I got this one here saying, this Buhari man is an expert in causing economic recession. This cash policy is taking us into another recession that is going to be worse recession of Nigeria has ever faced in modern times. Buhari dishes economic recession to us, woto. That's using the street lingo from PH, that's from Port Harcourt. So let's get into this next one. Where are we taking this? Okay, this one says, so you say 1 month interval. I retort, why not 2 or 3 months? Just to allow time for litigations. The point is, 2 weeks was reasonable ab initio. Turns out it wasn't by a week. Why the outcry? Cut these guys some slacks, Joe. Tunde from Oregon, responding to the litigation issue and all of those.
Yeah.
So let's just dig into this one. We'll come back and grab some more message. This headline, when I saw it, I said, you are just the right person to talk to us about it. And we'll just do it in summary. Nigeria's oil production rose by 48,154 barrels per day in February. That's according to the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. That's what they're saying. And that's according to the latest OPEC figures, right? Yeah. And I remember you being, you had a major stint at a major oil major in Nigeria before you now in Abuja. So take us through this. Is this good news?
It's an irony that Nigeria is celebrating 48,000 barrels of crude oil, and it's just so sad. It's pathetic that we've got to the point where we are celebrating an average increase of 48,000 barrels in our production. While I was in the industry, the organization I worked for at some point was producing 1 million barrels per day, just that organization alone. And that's the point. We've so much, the industry suffered so much when the IOCs were complaining about interference in their productions. It was seen as the IOC's problems. So the kind of government involvement to resolve the issue of crude oil theft was never put in there. Now, Nigerians don't understand, most Nigerians don't understand, it's a joint venture business. As a country, we have almost 50 to 55 to 60% stake in every IOC. So leaving IOCs to battle challenges means we're simply just ignoring what we should do to solve a national problem. Now, we are even able to gain this because of the contract with Tom Polo and so on, that before this time, we're producing 800,000 barrels per day. And that is far below what OPEC has given us as a quota. We're not, as it is now, we're not even meeting our OPEC quota. But the meat of this story,
in summary, go ahead, just in summary.
The meat of this story is the point made by somebody in the story that the IOCs are no longer selling. They are selling their assets and they are leaving production. They are going into the deeper offshore and the shallow offshore. This is one of the challenges. The local producers who are buying don't have the strength to even produce if Nigerians' capacity is even increased by OPEC.
All right, thank you very much, Joe, for that insight into Nigeria's oil production. Before you started talking law, we can see that you talked oil a great deal from this knowledge you shared just within a short time. Yeah. Joseph Obari, all the way from Abuja, analyst for this morning. Thank you so much. And we ask you to say a special happy birthday to your special one also who's celebrating today.
Thank you very much. Thanks. And happy Lagos. You have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
I'm always pleased to be here.
Okay, so let's wrap up this from this end now with